Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Legacy Premier League. I'm joined by my good friend Cyrus Corman-Gill. How are you doing, Cyrus?
Good. How are you, Driver Dog?
I'm doing great. Are you excited to play and watch some Magic tonight?
I'm so excited. Sorry, I had the Twitch open, so I was hearing you twice, and you are really great to listen to. But I don't know if I could handle twice.
Oh yeah,
Are you excited
I,
for some Magic: The Gathering?
I'm always excited about Magic the Gathering. Why don't you tell us about your personal preparation for this week, including a league you might have played earlier today?
Well, for the Vintage Super League, I registered a Tendrils of Agony deck every single week, despite having a fairly large range in Vintage. I could play basically any deck in Vintage, and I was like, no, this is the deck I know the best. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the season, I kind of got metagamed against my opponent. Played Esper Hate Bears in the quarterfinals, and I felt a little lame. I'm like, I need
Mhm.
to play some other decks. So I was like, well, I don't want to play Delver because everyone plays Delver. And I know that Michael Bonde has won a Grand Prix with Death and Taxes, and he's traveling for the Pro or the Mythic Championship. How likely is it that he's just going to re-register Death and Taxes, since that's the deck he's probably the most comfortable with? In the back of my mind, there was a slight worry. Maybe he'll play Grixis Control because Andreas Peterson had just played Grixis Control to
Mhm.
turn weekend. But I'm not going to worry about that. I figure he'll just register stock Death and Taxes. I'm going to play Elves, even though Storm has a good Death and Taxes matchup. So I ran a league with Elves, went 4-1, playing basically my list from 2017, but with 3 Llanowar Elves and a Scavenging Ooze instead of 4 Deathrite Shamans,
Yeah.
and same sideboard and everything. And then I felt so good. I was just totally ready. And then deck lists were submitted, and I was like, oh, there's 3 Submerges, 3 Cages, lots of removal spells. Okay, well, I'll play a league to practice. Went 0-5, didn't win any of my matches. Got turn 1 a lot, but that's kind of just how Magic works. The secret to doing well at really important tournaments is you need to do really badly beforehand. So I went 0-5, so now I'm due. So it's just math, simple math, Jarvis, right? You're a mathematician, so I'm sure that you could agree.
Yeah, you're definitely due. And speaking of due, we should be so thankful that the league is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast, Card Hoarder, and Scott Monroe. Without them, this league would not be possible.
They
You
are
know,
really just the best.
yeah, I personally am sponsored by Card Hoarder as well. It's just great. They're fast, they're convenient. If you need cards from, go get them from them.
Yeah, I'm not sponsored by Card Hoarder, but I have used them since I've started, regularly playing Magic: The Gathering online again a few years ago, like competitively, and have only had good experiences with them and their support staff and everything. And also, they do a lot to support the community, which is great. So, big shout out to them.
Yeah, so why don't we take a look at how the playoff bracket is going? So tonight we're going to be looking mostly at the bottom matches. One of them had to be rescheduled due to a scheduling conflict, but I'm excited to see Eric battle Phil. Um, let's see, Mengucci battle Bob, and of course our own Cyrus Corman-Gill battle Michael Bonde. Um, in a few weeks, I think we'll see the winner bracket matches play out, but that's not tonight. So yeah, let's see what Twitter thinks about these matchups. I have personal opinions. Wow, a literal 50-50 on Bob versus Mengucci. What do you think of that, Cyrus?
I think that Andrea Mengucci is incredibly popular for very good reason. Uh,
Oh
and
yeah.
Bob is popular too, but I mean, Mengucci has to be one of the most popular Magic players in the world right now for all the content he makes and how gregarious and charismatic he is. I can't believe this is how the poll split, but we'll talk about their matchups later. But
Yeah, legacy videos.
yeah, when I first got into Legacy, started playing on Moto a little bit more, I remember I watched his Blue
Yeah.
Red Delver video maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and that was super helpful for me, and it was cool. He just continues to make great content while just crushing the pro scene. So
Yeah, I mean, Mengucci plays a lot of Magic in a lot of different formats, and honestly, I think that's a strength for him to just play all of the formats, play them all the time, so you can see like different things that are going on.
yeah, you don't get so burnt out.
Oh yeah. uh,
This was like prowess Blue Red Delver Kanaxai, like the Olerade was like crushing with on Moto. I actually haven't really been playing Legacy for very long.
mhm. But now let's take a look at the first deck list of the night. Oh man. Uh, would you have guessed this from Mengucci? This
Well,
exact deck list.
it is the one he's Right? Has he registered every week so far?
Yes, yes. I think with slightly different sideboards though.
I know he played it against me.
Yeah, he played it against you and me. That first week of the league in the stage play. Uh, it really doesn't look like he's changed too much.
Was
Honestly,
Oko now, right? Was that there before?
oh no, it wasn't printed yet, so
Yeah.
it couldn't have been there yet. We weren't ready for the Elks yet.
I
We're
really
not
like this
ready.
Black Splash, actually. I mean, there's the argument that it kind of makes the mana a little bit worse,
Yeah.
which obviously does, but you have Ren and 6, and then you're playing, I think, an extra land here. And Abrupt Decay and Gourmet-Gill are just really good ways to kind of just go over the top of the mirror, which is obviously going to be popular.
Yeah, I mean, I think really part of it is Mengucci's comfortable with this deck. It's a solid deck. You know, there are some trade-offs versus normal Rogue, but he's played it before, and I think with him traveling back from the MC, like you said, it's safer to submit something like that. This that has no obvious holes.
Yeah, just
So,
a good deck list. You know,
yep.
got to make lots of decisions and something he's comfortable with.
All right, but let's look at Bob Huang's deck list now, and boy, is this a nice one.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you cover this one.
Okay. Well, Dave Long played something very close to this. A very good friend of mine. He lives in the DC area. We talk a lot about Mox Diamond based strategies. I think from Dave's exact list, the changes are 1 Oko was cut, 2 Molten Vortex were cut for 3 Drop of Honey, and I think we added a Ghost Quarter to the main deck. And really, I mean, here's the thing about 2019. You should play 2019 cards. They're just so ludicrously overpowered. Just look at them. Oh, it is an elimination match, and honestly, looking at these deck lists, I do believe Bob is favored.
Oh yeah, I
no,
mean,
yeah, we can go for the waste locks, we can go for the fast steps, and here's the other thing: Mengucci doesn't have that many surgical extractions, and the other thing, something I personally believe to be very effective in the matchup is Field of the Dead. It doesn't look like it's super effective, but then I noticed Mengucci's deck has literally no true name nemesis. So if you get 3+ zombies out, you're not allowed to attack with anything.
yeah, I don't think Mengucci has True Name Nemesis, right? He's playing Gourmet-Gill as kind of his
Yep.
big extra 2 threat, and that card lines up really poorly against the 3 Mazevith that you see here. There is the crop rotation for Karakas in the sideboard, but that's so much less effective against lands than against Dark Depths.
I 100% agree with that because lands can just loam it all back and be like, oh, you did that once, all right, waste your Karakas, let's do it again. Hope you're ready for this one.
And the thing about Delver is that you can beat any deck. I like the Abrupt Decays a lot from Mengucci in this matchup, being able to destroy, I mean, Ren and 6 as well as Oko, but also sometimes just Mox Diamond. I know that you and I have talked about this a lot, where kind of the secret of lands is that your mana base is actually kind of terrible. And so that's kind of the way I find that Delver is usually able to win. But now with the element of Planeswalkers, those can sometimes be pretty effective against lands too if you can stop the Punishing Fires, which I don't think there's even Punishing Fires in this deck list, right?
So this, you might not remember this. There were many variants of lands that splash a color, mostly innovated by Dave Long, like I said. They all cut Grove of the Burnwillows and they all cut Punishing Fire because he wanted to play more fetch lands and more dual lands and to facilitate the splash. So you can see that in the deck building here. He has a Waterlogged Grove and a Trop and 7 fetch lands. However, I still think the mana base is not great. You only have 9 red sources, but Gamble has been cut from the deck, so it's sort of counterbalanced. I think this deck is basically as pushed as it can be on the mana base.
Yeah, so I think if we're going to see Mengucci win this game, he's probably going to have to attack the mana base, which is actually one reason I really like decaying Mox Diamonds. So I think our players are ready for this elimination match tonight. It should be exciting to watch.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So Mengucci did the first important step of winning the die roll, which is obviously going to be important in any poor matchup.
Definitely agree.
I think both players kept here. I like both their hands. I like that Mengucci's able to hold up Spell Pierce for any explosive turn in play and then just follow it up immediately with Ren and 6, which is so powerful. And you can even have a Daze backup.
I actually like Bob's hand quite a bit. All right, so the key portions to the lands deck are acceleration, a way to get your lands back, and some removal. This hand has all of those elements, and he didn't have to mulligan. But Interesting note, he's patient. He plays around days because he can afford to.
Yeah. Do you like that play here?
Yes, 100%. If you can cold their days as you should, because days goes so dead so quickly versus you.
Yeah, because your deck is made of all lands. Is that why?
Yeah, I mean, a fair number of them don't tap for mana, but here, Bob's hand can definitely play around it. And also, we didn't see a turn one Delver from Mengucci. So you're not under any pressure. Why force the issue?
Yep. Well, now Mengucci's just in a pretty good spot. I mean, Wasteland is not going to be an issue this game. He's got
Oh my god! The Dark Depths. We might see it as fast as turn 3.
That was a good draw.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite draws right there for Bob. One thing to note is Bob cut Molten Vortex for drop. Drop not looking so hot here, honestly.
Yeah, drop's kind of interesting in how it plays with Oko because you can turn any non-planeswalker. You can turn creatures and artifacts into Elks and then kill them with drop. But well, the exploration resolving here is huge. I mean, lands having exploration in play just changes everything.
Yeah, you know how people talk about double spelling? How about double landing?
Yeah.
Yeah, really powerful. I would expect to see, some dual land, play Rashadan port opponent upkeep. And that exactly looks like what Bob is going for right here.
Maybe we can get some Summer Blooms in here. How do you feel about Summer Bloom in lands? Good enough to be banned in Modern.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good metric for considering a card in your legacy. Brainstorm, a good draw there. It synergizes well with Ren 6. The real problem, I think, this game is that Mengucci has no clock. In a long game, who do you expect to win, Delver or lands?
Definitely lands, but also, I mean, Ren and 6 is just so impactful against lands, I imagine. But also, Bob's going to make up Dark Depths on this next turn, right? Mengucci didn't find a Wasteland.
Yeah, but the problem is the power of Ren versus lands is diminished greatly when your opponent has exploration out.
Yeah, very good point. So maybe we should have like a Jonathan Alexander style Delver where we have exploration in Delver. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So deck lists are open, so you know that if you main phase it, the only way you really get punished is Oko, I believe.
Oh, that would be brutal. But you just have to main phase it. There's more Wastelands than Okos.
Yeah, agreed.
And also, it's easier to double or triple cantrip into a Wasteland.
Yeah. And also for Bob, what Bob can do is just run the pieces back slowly, so it's not even debilitating, right?
Definitely. So, yeah, we haven't seen much lands recently in Legacy. It's been so much of this the Dark Depth strategy.
I have some theories about why that is, but honestly, this is not the time for my theories, my crazy theories.
Yeah, maybe Dave Long broke it, and he's lands his back, Jarvis. Maybe you'll be playing lands at the upcoming major Legacy events like Star City Game Opens and Grand Prix.
Dude, too soon. Ooh, Ponder Shuffles.
Is this gonna be the Oko? Oh, I think the game's over, right?
I think so. Yeah, that's
so
not a very fast game.
Really got rewarded there for playing around that day. He was able to land the exploration, and the game was just over at that point, even in the face of turn 2 Ren and 6.
So one thing I like to do as lands versus Delver is match their pace of play. If they go fast, then I go fast. Otherwise, I'll just take it slow every time.
I think that really is a mark of a great Legacy player, is understanding when you need to play around and into days, because it's a pretty complicated thing to do, that and Wasteland, where sometimes you just need to make them have the Wasteland or days.
Yeah, but Bob, obviously right there, like, he wasn't under any pressure, so he doesn't have to do anything fast.
So from land side, what cards do you like in this matchup? I know this sideboard is a little different than normal land sideboards might be.
I like the Chokes, and I like the Field of the Dead. I don't like much else. You know deck lists are open, so you also know that, like, these Force of Vigors are not great. Flusterstorm's not great. So I would expect to see very few cards cited in. Like, those 3 cards. Maybe even 2.
Yeah, from Mengucci's side, I definitely like cutting all the lightning bolts. Obvious inclusions are Bog, Karakas, Crop Rotation. Partially because they're also just extra lands, which can help cast some of your Planeswalkers and Tarmogoyfs, in my mind. You have even the Pajuka Bog can cast Abrupt Decay. I also really like the Shatter effects and Hydroblast. I think Hydroblast, although it can't hit Gambo, can hit Ren and 6. I think that's a good enough reason. And I still do feel pretty strong that how you win this game a lot of the time is destroying Mox Diamond. And so I personally bring in the one Ancient Grudge, but it might not be correct with the context of this sideboard.
I definitely agree with all of your points right there. One interesting thing to note that is Bob sided out 2 ports while siding in choke. I'm not sure I love that because I think the cards really actually work better together.
Yeah, and then from Mengucci's side, he has the Pyroblast and the Elemental Blast in his sideboard, and those can answer Oko. I mean, it's kind of just changing the whole dynamic of this matchup because this list is so new, and no one's really played against this kind of rug Super Friends.
Yeah,
deck,
but
so.
the real problem with that is A, there's only 3 targets, and B, it's an inherently reactive card, I think. I mean, I guess a lot of your cards are inherently reactive, so that might not be the best argument against it. But I think I would prefer to just have cards that aren't so targeted on specifically one permanent from their deck.
Yeah, but it's interesting because you are bringing the Hydroblast, where previously that used to counter Gamble. It can no longer do that. And then you're kind of asking yourself the question, well, what's more likely to beat me is Renin 6 or Oko? So, well, one, you can daze a little bit more easily, so.
Yeah. So I think that was the cutoff for him. All right, Mengucci's hand seems pretty good.
Yeah, Bob had an easy mulligan, no color sources.
The old no green source, a staple if you played lands at all.
I really like Mengucci's hand here, though. I mean, this is kind of just... Daze is not always that effective against lands, but since you're going to be going turn 1 Delver, you're really encouraging the early exploration or Drop of Honey, and being able to daze that, and if they play around Daze, just slam the Oko is so strong, and then Submerge, although not the most effective answer against land, it is still a good card, so.
Yeah, no Sheltered Thicket is still a forest, so you can Submerge via that.
Yep.
Waterlogged Grove is obviously not a forest because it's one of the so-called Horizon Canopy lands. Ooh, Spell Pierce for a natural flip.
Oh, that's so nice to be able to counter the Drop of Honey now. So we might just see, Andrea run away with this game with the classic turn 1 Delver, counter everything you do for the rest of the game. But
the one thing about that is the Blast Zone can wear it out if necessary. So I doubt we're going to see the Delver solo him. It's going to deal like 9-ish damage at least, though.
Yeah. So I imagine you just don't play into Spell Pierce here, right? You just no reason to.
Yeah, it's not great. One thing you can do is if you get Wastelanded next turn, you can crop rotate what Wastelands. One big thing about this matchup is understanding when to Wasteland as the Delver player, I think. I think that's actually pretty difficult sometimes to evaluate.
Yeah, even more so now that blue and green or blue and red mana can be a bottleneck.
Right.
As opposed to knowing you can just hit like the red source or whatever if you can't hit them off green.
Mm-hmm.
Renin 6 is just so effective against lands, which is, it's like, I know that I used to play a Life and Loam in the sideboard of lands, or in the sideboard of Delver for like this matchup in Delver Mirrors, and it's just like a Life and Loam that can destroy creatures and doesn't take your draw step every turn. It's so strong.
Yeah, it's just shocking how good it is versus lands. That is actually one of the cards that made me not want to play lands once Horizons came out.
Yeah, it was interesting. At first, I thought maybe this would be a good addition into lands, and then you realize that the blue decks can just play it because it's only it's a red and a green, which is although difficult to cast, is doable.
Yeah. So now Bob has a lot of difficult decisions. A, what land do you play this turn? B, do you run something out into a daze? Because you really you did get one spell daze, but that doesn't preclude them having another daze, right?
Yeah, I would think that just slamming the...
I also think slamming is correct. But it is something to think about, right?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how effective this Oko would have even been there, right? I mean, you make a food. I guess it just has so much loyalty that you're going to be in a good position.
One bad thing for Mengucci is if somehow Bob crop rotates away the forest first, the Submerge is no longer live for the Dark Depths.
Yeah, we'll see if Bob chooses to play around Submerge. It is open deck list, so I think Mengucci has one Submerge, right? So he'll know it could be there.
Yeah, but the other thing Bob could do is just play Blast in this turn, crack it, and be at 9 versus a Ren 6, and that's like pretty safe, honestly.
You could also play the Blast Zone, play Drop of Honey, level up Blast Zone, couldn't you? And then kill the Ren next turn?
You could. If you're going to make that play, you should play the drop first to hide the fact that you want to pump up the Blast Zone.
Exactly. You don't want your opponent's soft permission to do something that would otherwise do nothing.
Exactly. Because suppose Bob just plays the drop first, Mengucci really has no incentive to play that Spell Pierce. But if he saw the Blast Zone first, then he would have incentive to do so. And you've already seen 2 dazes from Mengucci, so the probability of there being a third daze is not that high.
And this doesn't play around double Pierce, it just plays around Pierce daze.
Exactly. So Bob weighing his options, because there's a lot of things you could do right here.
Yeah, I personally like the play of play Blast Zone, play Drop of Honey, but I could see, the scary thing is that Mengucci does have, 5 unknowns in hand, because we know that he has the land. So he's just going to make the play of Blast Zone.
Yeah, I do like this play from Bob, because as long as you're not dying versus the Delver deck, I think you're okay. And you do have the ability to set up the Merit Age, even through a Submerge in 2 turns.
What's kind of interesting here is that Mengucci, in a few turns, will be able to hardcast this Submerge, which could change things. He's a little far away now.
Wasteland off the top! Oh my god, that's so good!
That is pretty good, because now Ren 6 is suddenly a very real threat.
Yeah. I mean, Bob has no recursion in sight, and it doesn't cost Mengucci much to wasteland the opponent every turn. And one other nice thing here is you get to dodge crop rotation this way, because you force the Blast Zone activation first. Now Bob has no green up, so you get to waste it without fear of crop rotation. So just a sound technical play from Mengucci.
Yeah, the expert professional Magic player knowing to attack before playing spells or activating abilities in the second main phase.
Look,
not something all of us do, including myself.
Some people love the F6 value.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
I wonder what you wasteland here. Probably Thespian Stage.
Hitting off Oko is kind of nice, even though you've already dazed one.
It's not unreasonable. Wasteland of Bob Zone, not so good.
Yeah, it's not the best here. I mean,
yeah.
What do you think Bob's outs are at this point?
So I think Bob's biggest out is to just play the forest main phase, stage the forest, play Wasteland next turn, then play Depths after that, initiate by wasting the waste. Hope Mengucci doesn't have Submerge because you can't play around it anymore.
Yeah, interesting. Bob hasn't played a lot of lands, but he's played so much of the Dark Depths deck, the Turbo Depths deck, that he is pretty familiar with how to make a Merit Lage through a Wasteland. This is not a play I would have personally thought of, so...
Yeah,
I'm interested to see if he sees it here.
I think if you're going to make this play, you actually do need to stage the forest main phase, though. I guess one thing that gives up if you do that is the ability to cast crop rotation, so it's not completely correct. And yeah, you're going to see the crop rotation now. Obviously, should I cast Tinker when my artifact is being targeted or not?
One interesting thing is I think Andrea Mengucci has based on a land every turn in the game so far.
Yeah, we're sort of close to ulting this Ren 6, but I'm not sure that does very much, right? Look at the spells in his graveyard. It's daze, nothing.
What do you get with this crop rotation if it resolves? I mean, obviously we know it's going to resolve, but
well, Bob's probably looking at through his deck list to figure that out. Yeah, you could get a Wasteland. You could get a fetch. I'm not sure I love that. Kind of a difficult situation.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to be kind of hard to beat the Submerge here, but I guess Bob is kind of at the point where he's getting Wasteland locked. He can't really play around Submerge.
Yeah, so he just gets a Taiga. This is fine. I think really Bob is just saying, yeah, I can't beat Submerge. If you got it, bro, you got it. Because he really is in dire straits now, right?
Yeah. I do agree with this play. I mean, Sometimes you just can't play on everything they have. Well, he
No,
has to do it before Andrea's
no,
main
no, no.
phase,
So
at
he's going to
least.
do it upkeep. That's what I foresaw coming as well. Obviously, the submerge is probably going to end it because, um, well, first off, it's going to be really hard for us to do anything productive. Man, Solder
Yeah, Bob is
Cracker
just gonna
looks
have
like a
basically no permanents in play.
yeah, yep. And now with that Ponder draw, Mengucci will have something good to do with the right because like realistically, how many Ponders do you need to end a game? Not that
Well,
many.
at least 44 because he has 44 cards left in his deck. So
Oh, I see what you did there. The old decking route, huh?
yeah, my preferred strategy of winning the game while playing Delver.
So actually, Life from the Loam opens up some redraws. The redraw it opens up is if you loam once and take blind draw steps to draw exploration, you can break out of this. But you do have to take blind draw steps after this if your loam resolves.
And you're just gonna spell Pierce Fist, right? As Mengucci.
Yeah, yeah.
He's probably not gonna have another target.
I mean, there's also the chance that you pierce it, waste his waste, and he has no other mana, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
3 spells drawn off of this brainstorm, which is
yeah. I mean, he drew a lot of lands earlier, right?
yeah, only like 6 or 7 in a row.
Yeah, but I mean, really, this game showcased the power of Ren 6, right? Like,
yeah, that card is just obviously just so insane against.
and one thing interesting to note here, he didn't even cast the or didn't even use the Wasteland this turn because he prioritizes getting Cognitively. Bob's only at 8. Like, he can't really make a Merit Legion in 2 turns before that Angler kills him.
Yeah, we've kind of focused on how Ren and 6 took over this game, but also there was that early Delver pecking in for damage and a good amount of damage done off the Waterlog Grove to yourself.
Yep. I think this game is a good example of how to beat lands as Delver. Like Bob's hand was fine. No one can ever mulligan that hand, I think.
Yeah, the combo of Ren plus Wasteland plus the Submerge to kind of protect yourself and having the turn 1 Delver, it just kind of had all of the pretty strong spells. Even without a Force of Will, you were able to use your counters in the right spot.
Right. To be fair, it took Mengucci a while to find the Wasteland, but oh, there's the Tabernacle. But unfortunately, it's really easy for Mengucci to just pay 1 per turn.
Yeah, Mengucci certainly not having the issue of not having enough land. I mean, that's one of the issues always with the Delver decks has been not having enough mana sources. But now with Ren and 6, it's just you get to make all your land drops, and life is good.
Yeah, that's why I'm pretty pro Hex Drinker. It's a great mana sink, and you're guaranteed to have like a reasonable amount of mana for it. Drop is basically terminate for this, except you take 5 damage first. So not great. And here we might see the Days plus Ren and 6 interaction.
Does that work on Moto yet? I know for a while it wasn't working.
I think it does work.
So how the Days plus Ren and 6 interaction works is Bob saw it there, so he decided not to go for it, is that returning the land is part of Days' cost, right? So you return the land, and then you're able to use the retrace from it. I'm not exactly sure on the exact rules explanation, but basically, even if you don't have a land in hand for retrace, you can return it with Days, then pitch it to the Ren and 6 emblem.
I believe the answer is you pay your costs, and you can pay them in any order. So that's why it works. But I'm not a judge. I just play the cards like they let me on Magic Online.
Yeah, Magic Online is a huge boon for understanding rules interactions. I will say that. So Bob looks like he's boarding in a choke that he maybe didn't have in his deck before. Maybe on the play he feels the second choke is a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, that's a reasonable way to do it. It's just versus Mengucci's deck. If you choke him and he doesn't have untapped black, it's going to be really, really, really hard to break.
And there's no Field of the Dead in the deck now. Bob's boarded out Field of the Dead.
I guess he's just afraid of the Ren plus Wasteland thing. If you get Ren plus Wasted, it is hard to get build going because it's not a fast card. It's actually a really slow card.
What's the most amount of lands you've ever played in the land strategy in Legacy?
You mean had in play?
No, like in your deck, in your 75, how many lands have you registered?
I played 43 back in the day.
That's a lot. That's most of your deck.
Yeah, it had Creeping Tar Pit.
The Jace Vindicator.
Yeah.
I heard a
I
rumor
also,
from Wilson Hunter that if you won game 1 with
oh yeah,
Creeping Tar Pit, that you would just board it out, and then games 2
and
and
this.
3 you just didn't need to actually win the game, or game 2 you
Hold
just
on.
didn't need to win.
I was going to say, what game 3? What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
There's just never a game 3.
Yeah, that was one way you could do it. Also, Nantuko Monastery is my favorite creature land.
Well, I don't know what that card does, but I bet it does something involving lands. Is that the one Threshold?
Yes, it becomes a 4/4 first striker.
Yeah, I remember that one now. All right, how do you feel about this hand from Andrea?
I mean, I basically never mulligan, and that's a reasonable hand, actually.
Yeah, sucks not having an early threat, but you have cantrips. Do you force negation? Oh, I would have snapped off force negation on that Mox Diamond, but I know that not everyone does that. It would have been not great with this hand, but
I would have heavily considered it, but the problem with this hand is you don't have a clock to follow it up with, so I don't think you're allowed to do it this time.
okay,
if I
that
had
makes sense.
If I had a Delver in my hand, I probably would have done it.
Yeah, I guess also there's Planeswalkers in this deck now, which actually pretty heavily changes the equation in terms of relevant spells that you would need to counter. I guess they're replacing Gamble, but still.
Gamble honestly has not aged well. That's why I'm pretty pro cutting it, and that's why Dave was pretty pro cutting it, I think.
It's sad because it's such a cool card. I miss the old lands list. They were all just 4/4 on the board with a lot of interesting lands, but
yeah,
times change, and so do the
Yep.
lands deck lists.
Ooh,
Wow, that was a good draw. Well,
there's some pretty well. No, I think it is a good. The question is, how do you want to play this hand now? There's a lot of different ways you could play it.
I don't love using this Mox Diamond just because if the Ren doesn't if the Ren doesn't resolve, you don't get to get that land back, which could be kind of awkward. And this is where Ancient Dredge would be killer. One interesting part about Andrea's hand here is it's actually pretty strong against choke. Like I think there's a world where you just let this resolve because you have the Waterlog Grove and the Karakas. I mean that's probably too greedy, but
I think it's good point that it is sort of truck proof. I just think it's going to be too debilitating in a long game to let it go.
Oh, no red source here. That Underground Sea really kind of coming into play as the non-red source in the deck. Although I'm not sure exactly which land got cut for it, but
this is literally the problem with the 4-color decks, because if that Underground Sea was Volcanic Island, you'd be fine.
Although you do get to go play Delver here, guaranteed flip Delver.
Yeah.
Have Karakas for Merit Lays, so you're in a pretty good spot. Oh, Maze of Ith.
I think this is going to be a long game. The reason I say that is I think the Maze is going to shut down offense. Bob has nothing going on, and Mengucci's going to draw bricks for a little bit.
Well, you can clear this Brainstorm lock already with the Waterlog Grove, right?
Yeah, I'm not like if you do that, then a Wasteland off the top cuts you off green, so it's not great. Like you're already going to get ported off green, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. That's kind of risky.
So I don't think you're actually allowed to crack that Grove for a card, even though you really, really, really would want to.
Mengucci with the chump check. I don't blame him. It is Bob Wong after all, but
oh, damn, son, dude! I thought you and Bob were friends.
No, Bob was not tricked by the Delver attack. He knows how to use Maze of Ith, so old school staple.
Yeah, Maze of Ith is that card used to be uncommon, I believe.
It is recently unrestricted in 93 and 94, which is a format that people play, including myself at Eternal Weekend. Fun format.
Really? Didn't know you did that. But Maze showing its power here, like shutting down all of Mengucci's offense, which is just one Delver. And one really smart thing here, Mengucci didn't play the Karakas. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, you really want to protect it from
because
Wasteland/Port.
Yeah, Bob is incentivized to actually sort of go for it here. Yeah. There's one thing I know about Bob is he plays sort of aggressively. I mean, not that it's necessarily wrong because there's only one crop rotation, one Karakas, and Mengucci was brainstorm locked.
You can also port off green for this turn, so It'd have to be exactly Caracas, basically, right? Or another green source crop rotation.
One really nice play here is Bob just said go.
Oh, so you guys should just make the
Wait.
Magalhaes here, right?
Yeah.
Delver will block it, but
Yep. So actually, really smart plays from both players. Bob said go because if Mengucci had Caracas in hand, just played it out, you could not do that and be safe. But Mengucci, seeing that that was a thing, just decides to leave the Delver where it is. And look, that Caracas not being in play, it's safe. Sorry, it's safe to get the Merit Wage off, but it was always going to be safe to get the Merit Wage off the board anyways.
how do you feel about that wasteland on Underground Sea there?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting play.
Because the relevant black spells are like just basically abrupt decay, so I think that I would just be wastelanding the green source and then porting it to keep my opponent off Ren 6, Tarmogoyf, etc.
But didn't Mengucci have 2 drops in play?
Well, you wasteland one trop, port the other trop, right?
Sure. Okay, I think now it might go downhill for Bob. The real problem is we have nothing, and Mengucci's about to have an active Ren 6.
Yeah, Ren 6 is a heck of a Magic card. And
Really
also, there's a
is.
Waterlog Grove. Kind of the reason you're playing this in this deck is that you suddenly start to get an extra draw step, although not an extra land drop per turn.
Yeah, but that's plenty good versus decks that contain the card Tundra.
And this is an elimination match, so are we going to see Andrea Mengucci possibly steal this one out from the lands deck that we thought was just... I thought lands was just going to crush this matchup, but the Planeswalkers just add such a new element to this matchup, which I hadn't really seen play out so much in 2019.
But the Planeswalkers on both sides really just warped this matchup, I think, actually.
Yeah, we didn't really see them come from Bob's side, but definitely has 6 Planeswalkers in the deck, right?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, what you're seeing is what Sukanek likes to call the power of blue. The blue deck gets to see more cards on average, so you'll see the Planeswalkers more often, right?
Yeah, that's kind of one thing about lands is that how it kind of came up, like made up for not having cantrips, is that it got to play, Ancestral Recall, Life from the Loam. It got to play Demonic Tutor for red, Gamble, and another tutor and crop rotation. But none of those cards find, like Gamble obviously not in the deck anymore, but those cards don't find Planeswalkers. So
Nope, no. So you kind of just have to like naturally draw them.
this is looking pretty bad here.
Well, so the one thing is, it's going to be a very slow death for Bob because we have 2 Mazovits. So what could hypothetically happen is we have to find Blast Zone to clear the Ren and Tarmogoyf first, then find a Ren 6 or Loam to rebuild, and then Mengucci has to not do anything during all of this.
Yeah, Mengucci can't find a wasteland, basically, right? If Mengucci finds a wasteland, the game's over.
I think so. I think if Mengucci finds a wasteland, what you're liable to see is to just start seeing the Mazovits get killed.
Yeah, and Bob might have to crop rotation for a Blast Zone here next turn.
Yeah. I mean, this is not looking great. I'm not gonna lie. Mengucci's hand is just so stacked, and he's like protected from a wasteland lock from the other side. So yeah, this game is the major reason I did not want to play 2019.
Yeah, well, it's really showing how diverse this threat suite of Delver is now. Where before it's like you just were trying to jam your creatures into Mazovith, and then you had kind of True Name Nemesis as your card that could get around Mazovith, but it's so hard to cast that previously with ports and wastelands and everything, and then there's 3 drops of honeys to answer the True Names. And these Planeswalkers are just so powerful that it's hard to really answer them. Maybe we could see a return. I mean, this is Ruglands. Maybe Zach Huang style Intuition, Loam, Academy Ruins, Engineering Explosives could be an answer to Planeswalkers, but at that point, you're kind of just maybe doing too much.
Yeah, the problem is that version is really clunky as well, but it
all poor against Daze and Pearson.
Yeah.
Well, Mengucci has a lot of spells in his hand.
So I believe Mengucci brainstormed in such a way to ensure the Delver flips, because what this does is it allows you to start getting through damage through the 2 Mazovits.
Another Mock 7. Not the best draw here.
Nope. Poor Bob. I mean, he's not literally dead yet, but if there were an advantage bar, Mengucci would have it stuffed in his mouth, being chewed up.
This port not looking so good against hard cast Force of Will mana at this point.
No, not really.
And Lance kind of getting the splash damage of Caracas. You know, Bob didn't really have a final life in the game, which was one issue, but also no exploration, which is really what you need to really pull ahead with Life in the Loam.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is you have to keep that hand and hope to draw better than Bob did. So
yeah, that's often my strategy when playing Magic Gathering decks, is draw better than my opponent. The problem is that Andrea has the advantage of being in the MPL, which is a plus 10% luck boost. So Bob really didn't, I don't think, factor that one in here.
Yeah, you're right. Bob did not factor in the get lucky aspect of being Andrea Mengucci.
Yeah, ignoring the fact that, you know, Andrea Mengucci can cast 3 Brainstorms, a Ponder. But seeing Oko here, it just doesn't really feel like you need anything like you need to cast that even. I mean, I guess why not?
Well, one nice thing about Oko is it really overloads the Maze of Iths very quickly.
Yeah. Okay, I found out last night playing Affinity in Modern that Oko can target Darksteel Citadel. Hadn't even considered that. I got my Darksteel Citadel stone ranged, which then turned off my Mox Opal, and then both of my mana sources were gone. It was just awful. And then I just logged off and decided never to play creatures ever again. And yet here I am tonight playing a deck made almost entirely of creatures.
Would you believe me if I told you I already?
I like knew it could happen if I read the card, but I just hadn't really like processed it in my brain, and then it happened to me, and it was the worst. It was the worst.
I think my favorite was watching someone animate a next like block or something and pump it, and then it got Oko'd post combat, and the guy's like, "What happens?" And the person just told him, "It's an elk now, forever."
It is indeed an elk. Oko, we're really seeing Oko kind of just being powerful in every format. So Andrea decides to trade his run in 6 for the emblem there.
Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, I was gonna say I think Mengucci could sort of click buttons at random, and Bob would probably lose.
Yeah, this does seem like a bad spot for Bob. Andrea has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lands in play at this point. So, or he will once if he plays this land, although I'm sure he won't because the emblem. So, seeing some food attacking here.
That's a classic play from Standard. I saw many foods attacking me last week in MC.
I bet you did. Did you see any cats getting eaten?
Yeah, my team came up with that deck. I'm just real stupid.
Well, everyone I know that played that deck is very smart, so.
Yeah, hence I'm real stupid. But it's okay. Interestingly, Mengucci's just waiting on his brainstorms because really the best brainstorm is one you don't cast, right?
Yeah, there's just not a reason to cast your spells here. I mean, so one thing I think that has actually been kind of interesting in this game is how long do you wait for this crop rotation? Your opponent hasn't found a wasteland yet. It's not like you can. Are you trying to get them to force of will something else? Maybe draw double crop roto.
Yeah,
every turn you wait, there's a higher chance your opponent can find a wasteland, which would turn off the blast zone plan.
You know what? I think maybe Bob didn't consider the blast zone plan, and now it's just way too late for it. Like now, or you crop rotate in response to this wasteland. The problem is, I don't think that's going to be anywhere close to good enough.
Yeah, I think the second that you're able to level up or add a counter to the blast zone end of turn in order to set it to 2, I would have just done it right away to kill the Goy from the Ren 6. It would have gotten Force of Will, but it doesn't get better for you to let your opponent hard cast Force of Will, find Force of Will, find Wasteland. So, you know, that's a new addition to the deck, not a card that's in depth, so maybe didn't fully consider it. And Andrea's going to take this match beating lands with some powerful Planeswalkers.
Yeah, I think really what that match showed was the power of Ren 6 verse lands, which is something I sort of immediately recognized was going to be a problem when the set sort of started being played heavily.
See Andrea in the chat. Winner!
Yeah, you have to be excited to steal that one because definitely on paper it doesn't look great.
Well, Andrea Mengucci is a powerful wizard aided by some powerful planeswalker friends, including Ren and Six and Oko. So the trio is able to take it down.
Yeah, I mean, both decks had Oko and Ren 6, but one deck was able to brainstorm into Oko and Ren 6. I believe that was the story of that match.
Yeah, playing Brainstorm and Legacy good in 2019, despite all the planeswalkers.
I think it's been good in the format ever since it was released as a format.
Yeah. Imagine winning a Grand Prix without Brainstorm in your deck, right, Jarvis? That would be crazy.
That person would have to be a luck or noob, I think. But in any case, I think we have a raffle for y'all tonight. Should be, oh my god. So in a few seconds, type card hoarder in the chat. Dude, how sweet are those dice?
They do. They're pretty sweet. They got dragons on them.
Yeah, they have dragons on them. And I mean, honestly, again, the dice are sweet. They're thanks to Card Hoarder, and we should thank Wizards of the Coast and Scott Monroe for sponsoring this league again. It's just freaking great, everything that they do. But yeah, I would not mind those dice, really.
I played against someone once that had a Jace the Mind Sculptor in play, and this was back before they made a million more planeswalkers. People actually registered Jace Mind Sculptor for Magic tournaments, and they went, okay, Jace 0, and they changed their dice, and I was like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, every side of the 6-sided die is a 3, because that's the only one Jace the Mind Sculptor is Brainstorm. So
that is unbelievable.
It made me laugh.
That's an Honorog or Edgar die right there.
Yeah, Honorog would then take a full minute to think about where to move the die, despite all of them being 3s, while he has 7 cards in hand to his opponent's 0, and then...
Whoa. I don't think Honorog would move the die. I think he would just leave it there. And then think about what cards to put back with Brainstorm.
He has 7 cards in hand, clock's ticking down. We gotta practice. I love you, Honorog. Those are some sweet dragons. It's always interesting to see if they make the dragon, the figure, the 1 or the 6. Do you have any preference on that?
I normally like 6, but that's because I remember YMG also doing that on their dice. If you remember that.
I don't remember that.
That might be before your time, but YMG's your games, they used to have dice, and the 1 would be replaced by their dragon logo.
You know what I really remember are the Magalhaes beads. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Like kind of pre-planeswalkers. You can even go look at old PT coverage, like the Nassif LSV finals, where LSV is playing black-white tokens, and his board is just covered in Magalhaes beads. And then I think we all kind of just realized we're like playing all these planeswalkers now as we started to play them more, and we're like, why would we ever use dice to represent planeswalker loyalty?
Yo, we have a winner in the giveaway. It's Caprican 713. Congrats to him or her or them.
I cannot believe that Canoxai didn't win this raffle.
Yeah, it wasn't rigged enough, I think.
So make sure to reach out to It's Julian, which is the channel that we're on right now, for your prize. Send them a message and they'll be able to get in contact with you.
All right. Yeah, again, a shout out to our sponsors, Wizards of the Coast, Card Hoarder, Scott Monroe. Those dice, man, I really wish I had them, but we'll be right back for the second match, and thanks for joining us.
Eric Landon against Phil Gallagher, right?
Yep.
All right, see y'all soon.